Oh, hello and welcome once again. A76NY here, or should I say Anton Rayne, president of Swordland. We've got a lot to do today. We've got to come up with an economic plan. We've got to meet with Marcel Karonti on a road in a car. Nothing nefarious about that. We've got to finalize the L1 railway contract, which we took a bribe from Walter Tusk in order to go with the company that he wanted. I'm going to go with whatever I want, regardless of Walter Tusk and his money. We've got some news to read here. This is just talking about the protest. Ebner suggests expanding executive powers. The leader of NFP, Kizaru Kiebner, has suggested that the new constitution should expand executive powers, which I'm okay with, adding fuel to the debate over the possibility of reforming the 1929 constitution. He pointed out the current dire situation in Swordland and emphasized the need for strong leadership. The current constitution suggests the division of executive powers between the cabinet and the president, who has no immunity before the courts for acts of treason and unconstitutional behavior during office. I want to do something about that. Immunity is good. In the system suggested by NFP, the president would have absolute immunity before the courts, and it is the president who would chair the cabinet. Not clear yet whether this suggestion would spark further debate in the Reform Committee with the PFJP and the USP. The FJP proposal has suggested that the president should have no presidential decrees, might result in the abolishment of the assembly and take the country to an early election, despite the independents' counter-proposal to give a similar power to the parliament to take down the president. But the details was not shared with the press in yesterday's press conference. Guess we missed something here somewhere. There it is. Reform demands gain popularity. Demands for reform are gaining more popularity than ever. Latest public opinion shows that the majority of Swordish people want change in the governmental structure that were established after Tarkin Sol's military coup in 1929. Public trust in the Grand National Assembly and the Supreme Court is at an all-time low. While rumors of reform talks are coming out of the Assembly, it seems unlikely that without complete unity, none of the parties would be able to lead such a proposal. In order to change the Constitution, the proposal must collect at least 150 signatures and then reach the needed 166 votes. If the proposal passes the Assembly, it is still subject to another vote in the Supreme Court. Okay? I'm going to try and cozy up to the old guard in the Supreme Court. Maybe we can get this through. Looking at the radical now, Workers' Party Solidarity March, the pro-minority Workers' Party of Bludia rally in the Bludish majority city of Suzerain attracted a large audience. The gathering was heavy on flags and banners whipping in the rain and chill wind as the gatherers declared solidarity with Bernard Circus. Among the speakers at the rally was Anson Leckie, a Bludish member of the Assembly who is standing as the leader of the independents in the Grand National Assembly. Though not a member of the WBP, he was the leading figure of the event. We will again foil this war plot that was set up by the Solist ideology, he said in reference to the series of conflicts and bloodshed during Tarkin Sol's term as president, which claimed thousands of Bludish lives. We will come out of this tunnel in conflict. Not only win against discrimination, we will win the truth. Okay. Bludish citizens are targeted. 20 Bludish citizens were attacked by a group of people suspected by members of the Young Swords. The members of the Young Swords during their peaceful protest to support Bernard Circus. Overwhelmed, and the local police force couldn't reach the protesters to protect them amidst the chaotic crowd. Right? Situation report from Narble. Ministry of Defense reports that the situation along the border is getting tense. Rumberg's Southern Army was sighted training close to our border and did not respond after we issued a radio message. Chief of the Armed Forces, General Kruger, reports to have increased patrolling duties along the northern border to signal readiness. So we are already seeing signs of Rumbergian aggression along our northern border here. One of our agents, acting as a young sword member, had an encounter with two members of the local police force in Anrica, Alson Bolar and Vic Neze. According to the reports, the policeman tried to bribe the agent to burn down a store that belonged to a known Communist Party member and to investigate further violence. We have detained the policeman on charges of corruption. All right, while we're here, let's finalize this contract here. We arrived in Anrica by train. After being greeted by cheerful citizens and the local government officials, we headed to City Hall. Here, a significant meeting about the L1 project would take place. Several construction companies sent their representatives to City Hall. Gus arrived earlier, the heartwarming. Hello, Mr. President. Good to see you again. Appreciate you taking up my offer on the stock investment. Armadine is a very promising corporation, and if everything goes well, you will make solid returns. Thanks for arranging the opportunity. I will get you a 25-year-old bottle of booze if they make a solid profit. If being the key word. I might lose all my money I put in. I just wanted to try my chance. If. The least likely scenario. You can trust me on these subjects. Simon Hall joined us after setting down. We moved to discuss the details of the L1 highway project. We came with train yesterday, and it was a little uncomfortable. Besides starting our economic recovery, the train journeys here will be much more pleasant. That's a given now. This project will improve so many things, ranging from logistics to growth. You made the right choice for sure. I hope so. Our rural development plan will be partially completed by flocking new businesses to the area. Thank you. According to my estimates, this project will give us about 50,000 citizens from the greater Holsword and Gelsland area employment. What will it take to stop the recession? What kind of end results do we expect? Failure during this project is not an option. You're right. We need to work together and think things through. Our economic revitalization plan is set to be a success. We haven't talked about that yet. I think I was supposed to do that first. Oh well. Failure is indeed not an option. Simon searched the documents he was holding and found the one looking for. I have the overview of the companies here. And handed me the files. I will look at them. I looked at the files. 3 corporations were listed. Swordlish State Corporation, Underhall Construction, and Taurus Holdings. State Corporation of Swordland is main government corporation that is tasked with running public construction contracts in Swordland. It's also part of the Big Four, the 4 largest companies in Swordland, most usually called the SSC. It is the most honorable company in the country, long and solid track record of accomplishing critical projects. In the recent years, the efficiency of the corporation seemed to have dropped due to the recession and somehow corrupt management structure, though considered the safest bet for big projects in the minds of many government officials. Underhall is the one that we took the bribe to take. Real estate giant is owned by Mayor of Conrad, Chris Shar. Most people in Swordland know the name Underhall Construction by the many iconic buildings that they have constructed in nearly all major cities. Recently, the company sold half of the shares to Walter Tusk, spokesperson for the Lothberg. While this breached certain competition clauses, it was largely ignored. Underhall is a gigantic real estate company that is very influential in construction projects of the private sector. Some of their recent work in Holsword, blah, 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 and Taurus Holdings, founded in 1946 by Geralt Faze. Taurus Holdings is a new and entrepreneurial private company that uses cutting-edge construction technology from Arcasia to reduce construction costs and prices. They recently began taking bigger and riskier contracts in several industries, including the construction industry. They are known for their port expansion project in Benfey, which is completed with half the budget. So that's something to keep in mind. Taurus may be a new company, but they seem to get things done on the cheap and keep our budget in the positive. That would be good. I reviewed the listed corporations. I also wrote down some notes and ideas. Which corporation should we talk about? Talk about the Swordfish State Corporation first. The respected Swordfish State Corporation, also known as the SSC, was founded in 1891. It's the main... We just read all this. The SSC is the primary reason why our infrastructure is outdated as is. We need more adaptive construction companies. It would fulfill your initial election promise of using a state-dominated planned economy to improve the bleak recession situation. They have experience, knowledge, and manpower for a project this size. I'm not so sure about their efficiency. There's also the fact that construction times are long, which are caused by outdated methods. The lack of dynamic attitude is disappointing. The experience they bring to the table is beneficial. I don't share a great admiration for the SSC, but their track record clearly shows completed contracts with thousands of employees who have experience. According to the preliminary calculations of the SSC, they would need more resources to finish the project this size. I want to hear about the others. Real estate and construction giant was founded in 1925. They expanded during the economic boom of the 30s. Picking this corporation would go against our planned economy policy. I've had a chance to work with Underhall Construction before in Holsword. They took several contracts for the central station renovation and excelled at it. What are your thoughts, Simon? I think that they have been doing relatively well in the private sector, where they are dominating the construction industry with successful projects. Nonetheless, they treated their workers below our working standards during the Holsword Central Station contract, which is troubling, maybe to you, but I don't care. Some of these choices just don't fit in with my douchebag ideas, so... Working conditions must be respected. This doesn't inspire confidence. You need to be able to trust the corporation. This is a base requirement for the contract. I think their capabilities are very suitable for the L1 railway project. They worked on 2 infrastructure projects in Gelsland and one in Greater Holsword that were worth 2 billion Rayne in total. Underhall has specifically mentioned their solid track record and highlighted that the cost of the project would be more than expected for a project of scale but finished on time. I'm not so sure about Underhall. Take a look at Taurus Holdings. A new holding company. They are known to provide for their workers who are part of the labor union of Swordland. They're a very interesting corporation, especially because of their innovative construction methods, but aren't suitable for large projects. Why should I pick Taurus? Taurus has completed fewer projects than the other companies. However, they are slightly faster and cheaper. Won several awards internationally for being one of the fastest growing and advanced companies. The innovative aspect is refreshing, especially if they can deliver. Exactly, and why take such a risk when you need to play it safer with companies like Underhall? The innovative aspect is refreshing, especially if they can deliver. Exactly, and why would take a risk? I think that was, like, it might have been a scripted thing that no matter what you say, he's gonna push for Underhall. The project manager from Taurus Holdings mentioned that they would be able to finish the project with the allocated funding. They're only company who found the budget sufficient, making them a cheaper alternative. It's worth considering. Cheaper. Time to make a decision about which company to award the L1 high-speed railway contract to. So I've settled on SSC. That's the state corporation. I would be upholding my promise to go with a state planned economy approach. But they're somewhat less than efficient. I've settled on the Underhall Construction. That's the one I took the bribe to go with. It would reduce our government budget by 1. But they've got a lot of experience doing shit like this. Taurus Holdings is going to be cheaper. So the only one that's actually going to cost us any budget is the one that I bribed to accept. This is kind of a tough one here. Could go with this one or this one and it wouldn't cost anything. But I'd piss off Tusk. I took his money. Nothing, basically. I just ripped him off. Oh. Wasn't expecting to have such a hard choice on this one. That one would be most prudent. I'm not playing this guy as a leader. Go with Taurus Holdings. It's cheaper and more innovative. Simon signed a certain section of the dossier and fixed his glass. Some in the Lothberg group won't like this, but the contract will be awarded to Taurus Holdings. Walter Tusk is definitely not going to like this, but fuck him. I wish the outcome of the meeting was different, but at the end of the day, the success of the project is what matters. The company will be notified today, and the construction work will begin immediately after this. I want to see how this plays out. It'll be interesting. Good luck to us. My expectations for a grand opening ceremony are late next year. I will be returning to my duties. See you soon, Mr. President. Meeting ended, and we spent the remainder of the day attending events in Anrika. It was very refreshing to attend cultural dances and hear the traditional Sordish music of the region. Hey. Papers say. Construction begins for high-speed railway. Taurus Holdings has been awarded a 2-year contract for an extensive infrastructure project as part of the L1 high-speed railway project. In addition to the ground investigation, Taurus will be responsible for subgrade bridge, track laying, and building the railway, which is what we hired him for. Taurus said it could build the line much stronger than planned and at much lower cost, according to a letter seen by The Economist, but the USP MP Elvin Clavin had warned letting Taurus build L1 would be extremely questionable. Elvin Clavin, Sordish politician, member of my party. Okay. Risky railway project. Government has announced a new mega infrastructure project to help alleviate the symptoms of the recession. When the Minister of Economy announced the launch of one of the most contested construction projects in Swordland, a high-speed railway between Lockhaven and Hullsword, he said this line crossing most populated areas of Swordland will ease traffic congestion, boost trade, and improve logistics. A contract for the project was given to the inexperienced company named Taurus Holdings. The decision of such a vital project to be given to a company like Taurus should not have been taken so easily, which it wasn't. I actually kind of had a problem deciding. as they lack the large-scale experience and the organizational capacity to complete a big project. Well, the decision's been made. There's no going back. They did it because they're looking forward, even though they're less experienced and they're cheap. Let's meet with Marcel Karonti, see what he wants. He's a media mogul. We were headed to the meeting location set by Marcel Karonti. Motorcade was made up of the most confidential and trustworthy team, including Serge. After a few hours of driving along River Eskel, took a turn before entering Conriat. The darkness started setting in as we drove up the hill. Outside, you could see giant stadium lights at the hilltop far away in the distance. Looked like a massive complex. We're almost there. We arrived and the big iron gates of the country club opened up. It was huge and outright extravagant. The main building, inspired by lesbian architecture, was lit from all sides. This douchebag's with us. Good old Lucian. It was rather chilly. I was approached by Peter Vectorn and Lucian Galad. I hope the journey was comfortable. Location is very remote. Anything to keep me away from home. Wasn't bad. I can't think of comfort when our country is descending into chaos. Anything to keep me away from home. That bad, huh? Well, this should prove distracting, shall we then? After opening the marble-engraved wooden doors, we were greeted by two tall women. The receptionist led us into the meeting room upstairs. Marcel was standing by the window looking out at the beautiful complex. He turned around to have a quick look at us both. He was a really handsome man with well-groomed hair. He walked towards me with his hand, reached out for a handshake. Why not? He had a firm grip. What's happening to you, Anton? It is such a pleasure to meet you in person, Mr. Karonti. I appreciate your efforts to reach out for mutually beneficial friendship. Thanks for hosting us. I admired your father very much. May he rest in peace. Welcome. Kind words have touched me, Mr. Vice President. He was indeed a great man. I'm not going to say. Time to look forward. Let's talk about our bright future. Much to discuss. Believe it or not, I have been a secret admirer of your political success. I find your quick rise to power was shockingly well executed. I wouldn't be standing here if I wasn't good at what I did. Marcel gently pointed at the seats. He sat down around a gigantic table. Before speaking, he knocked on wood. The past months have been tumultuous, to say the least. I'm glad you and your family were unharmed at the shooting. The whole incident must have been a shock for the kids. They aren't used to what we lived through back in the late 20s. Still remember when my father took us out of the country when it became too dangerous in Conriat. I will not allow this situation to continue. They were startled, but the important thing is they're safe and sound. Spare me your life story. As you wish, but it's an amazing life story. He gave a cheeky smile. Well, I am known to be a straightforward person. Let me get to the point without wasting your valuable time. It was during the Alfonso campaign when I was struck by what you have done within the party. Marcel started to look at me at one of the paintings on the wall. I'll look at the painting, get a puzzled look. So, let me be straightforward. Sit down and get to the damn point. No need to be rude, Mr. President. We are only here to conduct business, aren't we? Marcel pointed his finger at me. Said we will transform this nation, Mr. Rayne. My conglomerate has a way of doing things. I don't want them to change. So I want to cooperate with you. Going. Might have the people's support now, Mr. President, but what happens when you make a mistake? Everybody makes mistakes. What is that supposed to be? Hear his point. Being a president in this country means having many enemies. Enemies that would resort to anything to bring you down. Let's say these enemies caused a scandal or leaked sensitive information from the administration. These would be destructive when they were released. If you threatening me? Absolutely not. Merely offering a helping hand. Want in return. I want two things, Mr. President. Number one is a guarantee from you and the Rayne administration won't meddle in HOS affairs, no matter what happens. Okay. Number two is simply a gentleman's favor for the... Me prove my services first, and I'm sure you won't disapprove when the time comes. I know I can trust you. My circle advised against this. They don't even know we are meeting. President, we both put ourselves at risk here. I'm willing to trust you. The question is, are you willing to trust me and accept this offer? About this, Lucian leaned my ears and whispered, I think it's a good deal. He's right. We'll need the media support. There's newspaper and channels on our side. We can dodge a lot of bullets. Good point, Lucian. One thing that bothers me, though, is his favor request. Do not know what it is, and he could ask for something that could point fingers at us. Marcel interrupted us. So, do we have a deal? Sure do. What Peter would have said. Happy to hear that. Contact me personally through this number. As soon as you know that a story against you will break, please call me and it will be taken care of. Hope you will uphold your end of the bargain as well. As long as you do, count on me. We will meet again. Goodbye. Thank you for your time, Mr. Karonti. Alright, let's go back to Holes. Nothing in the news to read. Other minor matters of interest. Leader of the NFP, Zaro Keebner, has demanded an emergency be called to address the increasing political violence in the country. Stated that without a declaration of emergency, Nordland would be destabilized and the integrity of the country would be damaged even further. Economic relief plan. Alright, let's do that. Oh, just one of these things. It's gonna cost us. With the assistance of the National Business Council and the Central Bank, Simon Hall put forward a countrywide relief plan to mitigate the economic hardship that are being felt. We can either provide stimulus checks for people in need or bail out businesses under serious financial strain, or decide not to approve either one of them. Let's another hard decision here. I'm sure we went our way to piss off the business conglomerate, Walter Tusk, by screwing him over. Free money for people. Could be a good way to buy votes. Go with that. Dole out some stimulus checks. Unemployment and checks. Administration has fallen for populism and the idea that giving people money will solve the problem of the economy overall. It is hard to grasp where these ideas come from, especially when long-term job growth and employment, what this country needs to secure in order to have stable economy. What's the plan here? People will be able to pay their rents for a few months, and then they will fall into the same unemployment trap due to a lack of job availability or security. Businesses can't carry all the weight of the declining economy on their own shoulders and employ people without help from the government. The administration needs to reevaluate their ways out of the recession with realistic methods. It is what it is. Okay. Media bias. Media in Swordland has experienced organized interference from the state and private organization. Economic Relief Act is the stimulus checks. Okay. And now what? Gotta be something to do here. Wait. Funeral of Bernard Circus. A decision to attend the funeral of Bernard Circus. I'm not going to the funeral. Not care. Radical is not happy. Earlier in the day, mourners in Holsword gathered outside the Maroon Palace where Bernard Circus was shot, holding identical black and white signs reading, "We are all Bernard Circus," and "We are all Malian of this." The funeral took place in Dyer amid tight security. White doves were released into the air, and much of downtown Dyer was clear of traffic. There were no high-ranking government officials among the thousands who attended the funeral. If the president and the chief of the general staff came to the funeral, I would have been hopeful that the state has given up on lynching culture and started to practice self-criticism. This seems too far off from reality in Sword. Yet again, the Swordish government proved, just like its predecessors, the president seems to be condoning these kind of violent attacks since he ignored this event of massive proportions that occurred right under his nose, and ironically during his inaugural ball, which I had nothing to do with. Actually, my people kind of. From back in the day. Right? Decided not to fulfill the bribe. How they put that. What's next? Briefing on the current diplomatic situation. I'm going to save that for the next episode. Could probably be kind of a long one. Alright, so we screwed over Marcel Tusk. Whatever the hell his name is. I didn't like him anyway, so whatever. We still have budget to go, so that's going to have to go towards police or military, or both, and we'll just go in the hole. See what happens. Anyway, if you like the episode, hit the like button. If you want to follow along with Anton the Asshole, hit the subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you think of the series so far, decisions I've made, and that might impact the story going forward. Hey, 76NY saying thank you very much for watching and have yourself a very good day.